I'm Clara Evans, and my childhood home was once a haven, its walls alive with my father Daniel's laughter. After Mom died, it was just us, filling the two-big house with late-night talks and warm dinners. Dad's gentle voice promised it'll always be our refuge, a sanctuary where Mom's memory lingered like a soft echo. That vow held me steady, even as life twisted. When Dad brought Margaret home, I met her with guarded hope. Her smile seemed kind, her hands always busy cooking, tidying, folding. She wasn't Mom, but Dad's joy softened the edges of change. We became a trio carving space in our home. And Dad kept assuring me this is ours, Clara, no matter what the warmth held. Though Margaret's sharp glances sometimes hinted at something I couldn't pin down. Cracks grew when Dad's health faltered. Small spats with Margaret flared over dishes, my tone brushed off by Dad's optimism. Just settling in, aged say ruffling my hair. But alone, I saw her shift. Her voice edged, her eyes cold like I was a ghost. She didn't want. I clung to Dad's words, blind to how his death would shatter us. His funeral draped the house in gray silence. I stood in a stiff black dress beside Margaret, as mourners drifted through, their words hollow her kids' fall. Lily, James and Rosa arrived late, strangers to me, their eyes scanning our home like appraisers. I thought they'd leave after comforting their mom, but they stayed, claiming rooms. Paul took Dad's study, Lily rearranged the living room, and the twins settled in the spares. My sanctuary turned alien, their voices drowning out the life I knew. Margaret changed to her warmth fading as her kids' needs took over. One night I overheard Paul in the den. This house is ours. Make it work. My chest tightened. I wanted to scream Dad's promise, but fear silenced me when I asked Margaret. Her reply was ice. You'll adjust, Clara. We all do. Home became a war zone, and I was outnumbered by 9. Paul ruled like a king, his commands heavy on me. One day he called me to the kitchen, where Lily and Rose counted coins. You're old enough, he said, shoving a bucket at me. Sell water at the market. This isn't free. My stomach dropped. It had never worked. Never stood in the sun pedaling, but his stare was stoned and Margaret stayed mute. Next morning I trudged out, bucket sloshing, hands shaking. The market roared, each no chipping at me. I came back with sore feet and pennies, met by Paul's try harder. Weeks blurred into labor, selling, washing, counting coins late into the night. Playtime vanished. I was a shadow, not a child. Lily's barbskin. Even clean rights done. Margaret's silence louder. I faded, a fixture they ignored, dreaming of Dad's days, but reality crushed hope. Survival became a tightrope. Chemists meant scorn, or empty stomachs. Lily policed me, her voice cutting earn. Your keep nights I lay awake. Mom's lullabies replaced by Paul and James mocking me. Next door I shrank, hoping invisibility would ease the weight, but it didn't. My childhood slipped away, stolen by those under my roof who didn't care. Rainy season broke me. One soaked day I returned from the market, bucket near empty, dripping on the floor. Paul loomed, arms crossed. Lily sprawled smugly. Margaret, watching. You're not pulling your weight, he snapped the rein. I started, but he cut me off. Excuses don't pay, Lily smirked, and Margaret sighed, offering no shield. Paul grabbed a bag, stuffing my clothes in. You're out, he said. Lily shoved me to the door. Not a kid. Here, Anna Moriand. I stepped into the storm. Bag clutched tight, the door slammed. A hollow thud echoing as rain soaked me alone. The street stretched, dark and endless. That first night, I huddled under a market stall, shivering, the bag my only tether. Fear gripped memory, shadow but hunger gnawed worse by dawn. I wandered invisible to vendors roasting yams, too proud to beg. Days bled into scavenging scraps. My spark dimming on the third night. Curled under a rag, an old woman approached Mama Ruth, her face etched with time. Child, why are you here? She asked, stern but soft. Nowhere to go, I whispered. She sighed, extended a hand. Come. Too tired to resist, I followed her to a tiny house smelling of bread. She fed me stew and I ate, tears held back. You're too young for this, she said. Learn to bake. It'll keep you alive, I nodded. Unsure but desperate. Mama Ruth taught me do under my hands. Ovens humming, I stumbled. Flour dusting the floor, but she smiled. Every baker starts messing. Slowly, I shaped loaves, sold them at her stall, coins, replacing Shane. The market became mine, and at 16, I stood taller, crafting honey bread that drew lines. Mama Ruthie's back, trusting me. Nights, I sketched a Bakarmi future. The past lingered, Paul's voice. Lily's sneer, but I wasn't that girl anymore. Bread rebuilt me, and I rise beyond their ruins.